يا أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم واشكروا لله إن كنتم إياه تعبدون. We are reading verse number 172 of Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who have Iman, eat from the pure and wholesome things which we have provided for you, and do shukr of Allah, show your gratitude to Allah, if indeed it is He whom you worship. In the previous verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a general instruction to all mankind. يا أيها الناس كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. When Allah says يا أيها الناس, He includes all mankind, believers and non-believers, disbelievers. And normally يا أيها الناس is in Makki surahs, and يا أيها الذين آمنوا is in Madani surahs. Sometimes Ya Ayyuhan Nas appears in Madani surahs as well. But general indication of Makki Madani surah is taken through Ya Ayyuhan Nas and Ya Ayyuhal Lazina Amanu as well. Those surahs which have Ya Ayyuhan Nas, Ittaqu Rabbakum inna zalzalat as-sa'ati shay'un azim. Ya Ayyuhan Nas, Ittaqu Rabbakum wakhshaw yawman la yajzi walidun an waladihi. These surahs are normally Makki. And those which have Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil uqud, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha wal tanzur nafsum ma qaddamat lighad, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la takunu kalladhina azaw Musa. These surahs are normally Madani surahs. So, over here, after addressing the general public as a whole, mankind as a whole, Allah now addresses the believers, especially that, O believers, you should be more particular about tayyibat and halal, and also more particular about shukr of Allah. Kulu min rizq rabbikum washkuru lah. Eat from the rizq of your Rabb and do His shukr. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying over here, In kuntum iyyahu ta'budun. If it is He whom you worship, then follow Allah's instruction and command. This verse also commands that lawful and pure things must be eaten. Enjoy them. So Allah made them halal. Who made them haram? Allah's made it halal. So eat. قل من حرم زينة الله التي أخرج لعباده والطيبات من الرزق قل هي للذين آمنوا في الحياة الدنيا خالصة يوم القيامة. The hadith explained that our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to love the meat of white meat. Also, he liked the leg and shoulder of the goat. Also, he liked some things like honey, olives, fig, and these and sharbat, sweet, a cold, chilled drink after eating. He used to like that. He used to eat good food because it brings shukr of Allah. Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullah alayhi says that some people say we shouldn't drink cold water. He said cold water in hot season, brings out the proper shukr from the depth of the heart. You say, Alhamdulillah, maza aa gaya thanda pani pee ke. So you should eat and drink freely from what Allah has given. This verse also says, Kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum washkuru lillahi in kuntum iyyahu ta'budun. We have to avoid haram things, because consuming haram is detrimental, harmful to our spiritual health, as we mentioned briefly in the last dars. We also mentioned, Maulana Idris Kandalvi Rahmatullah alayhi says over here that halal, consuming halal, being particular about halal, brings special noor in the heart. And it is a source of acceptance of dua and qabuliyat and acceptance of ibadat and worship. Just as haram forms a barrier between the acceptance of dua, and haram brings dark patches and zulmat upon the hearts. We read in the books, Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullah Ali mentioned in his Abiti, in Deoband, there was this person who used to work in the fields, and he used to earn his daily bread by his blood and sweat. He used to save little bit because he used to gather grass and, you know, pile it up and sell it as fodder for people day by, day in day he would be working. He would save little bit, and throughout the whole year he would gather a bit from there, and then he would do da'wat of the asatiza of Darul Uloom Deoband. Maulana Yaqub Nanotwi Sahab Rahmatullah alayhi says that his dawat would be so nurani that we would wait for his dawat for the whole year. कि चाचा की दावत कब होगी? They could see that nur in his halal income. One person was going somewhere. He came to a village or town. He had nowhere to go to, nothing to, eat or drink. He was sitting there. Someone, bichara, innocent man saw him. He said, "Chalo, मेरे घर मेहमानी." खिलाया, कहा सो जाओ, रात सो गए. दूसरे दिन he said, "Can I stay here today as well?" He said, "All right." He fed him on the second day as well. And then on the third day he said, "Bhai, I can't keep you no long today. I earn my daily bread on a daily basis. I fed you my bread the first day, and the second day, now I don't have the ability to stay hungry for a third, fourth day." So he said, "Okay, I will go, but I want to ask you something. What is in your earning? How do you earn your daily bread? Why are you asking?" He said, "Because your food was so nurani that I have been seeing Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam in my dream when I sleep here in your house after your food. The noor and the barakat of your halal earning." And that was also his halal earning. Those days, they were like this. Sheikh Saifur Rahman Sahab comes and he talks about the good old days when Hazrat Maulana Abdullah Darkhasti Sahab Rahmatullah alayhi, how, he used, Maulana Saifur Rahman Sahab's mother used to take the milk and take cream out and make yogurt with her own hands and send that to Hazrat's house. And she would make clothes herself by making the cotton wool herself, the threads herself, and she would give one suit per year to Hazrat Darkhasti Rahmatullah Ali, and Hazrat would wear that. Hazrat said this was the good old days and the barakat in their income. There was nothing. And today we have so much haram mixed. If we don't have haram, then the ghubar of haram comes on us, like mentioned in the hadith. So there is a world of difference between halal and haram. Allah is saying, eat from the halal and wholesome things which Allah provides. We mentioned the hadith. I repeat it. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Inna Allah ta'ala amara al-mu'mineen bima amara bihi al-mursaleen. فقال تعالى يا أيها الرسل كلوا من الطيبات واعملوا صالحا. وقال تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم واشكروا لله إن كنتم إياه تعبدون. ثم ذكر الرجل يطيل السفر أشعث أغبر يمد يديه إلى السماء يقول يا رب يا رب يا رب ومطعمه حرام ومشربه حرام وملبسه حرام فأنى يستجاب لذلك." Allah Pak instructed mu'mineen with the same instruction which he gave to the mursaleen. He said to the mursaleen, "Ya ayyuhar rusul kulu min at-tayyibat wa'malu salihan." Eat halal wholesome and do amal salih. This means if you eat proper halal, you will get tawfiq of amal salih as well. And Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum washkuru lillah. Same instruction for messengers and for believers. And then Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam went on to mention a man who is on a long journey and his hair are all disheveled, his body is covered in dust, he's in a pitiful state, and he's saying, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. Allah would definitely accept his dua because Allah accepts the duas of a musafir. However, his food is haram, his drinks are haram, his libas is haram. That forms a barrier between his dua and qabuliyat acceptance. The dua doesn't go up, it's not accepted by Allah. فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ لِذَلِكَ. So, halal has a lot of influence in the acceptance of dua, acceptance of ibadat, in fact, in the tawfiq of ibadat as well. This is why Hazrat Maulana Ashiq Ilahi Sahab Baland Shahri Rahmatullahi alayhi writes in his beautiful tafseer Anwarul Bayan, this hadith effectively illustrates the importance of consuming halal and abstaining from haram. It tells us that only the charity given of halal is acceptable. Another hadith is referring to that لا يقبل الله صلاة بغير طهور ولا صدقة من غلول. Allah does not accept salat without taharat, and He does not accept sadaqah from haram mal. If you give haram a sadaqah, you won't get any sawab for it. Interest money, and you're giving sadaqah from interest money, gambling money, stolen money, Allah will not accept that as sadaqah. You're making fun of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Na'udhu billah. If it's haram money, you should get it off your shoulders, offload it, give it to some destitute person without niyat of sadaqah. Because for sadaqah, if you give one, you get sawab of 10 times or 700 times multiplied. But for haram money, you give it out, no sawab. You might get something for, getting it off your shoulders, but the sawab of sadaqah will not be given to you. So, Hazrat said that it shows the importance of avoiding haram stuff and consuming halal. Hazrat goes on to say, nowadays, many people make du'as, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept their du'as. They complain that we made so many du'as, yet we don't get any response from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Such people should examine their lives and do some introspection. Each person should ask himself how much halal and how much haram he or she consumes. Are the clothes derived from halal or haram income? Should any of the things be from haram sources, they should be immediately discarded. This hadith cites the example of food and clothing only. Other items may also be classified as haram, whether they be living quarters, any objects of ease and comfort, like for example our cars, our other stuff which we use in the house, washing machines, dryer or whatever, all other things which we buy. If they are of halal source, okay. Haram source, we have to give it up, clear it out, filter it out. This is what I want to mention. Some forms of haram earnings. Bribery is extremely rife nowadays, in spite of the fact that everyone knows it to be haram. Even though it may be termed as a gift or a favor, it will not cease to be prohibited. Some people who are employed in some legitimate posts often accept bribes which are haram. This ill practice even makes their salary haram, because by accepting bribes, they are contradicting their terms of employment. Number 2, interest. Irrespective of the amount, little or more, it remains haram whether it is taken from a member of the public or a specific institution. This applies even if it is disguised by terming it as profit. Every type of trade entailing the perpetration of sins is considered to be haram, because sins as well as aiding their commission are both haram. For this reason, the remuneration received for a sin and for assisting in the same are both haram. Number 3, the sale of haram items is also not permitted. Neither will the profits derived from it to be considered halal. Trading in intoxicants, sharab, swine, pork, blood, carrion, dead meat, pictures, and statues are all unlawful. The profits occurred from accumulated from all such sales are also totally forbidden. Number 4, the levying of all taxes is also haram. Therefore, employment in any post dealing with taxation is also haram. Salaries received from such employments will also be haram. Employments in bank where writing and transactions are involved, and other institutions dealing with interests is also haram, together with the salary received. 5, insurance policies where the life or property are tantamount to gambling and are haram. You gamble, you pay insurance policy now, and throughout the year, either you will lose that money, or if something happens, you put a claim, you will gain money. So it's a gamble. You will lose 500 pounds you paid for your insurance, or you will gain 50,000 pounds. And many people do this. Gorias, they go on holidays, right? India. And then they put an FIR. There was burglary, theft, and my Rolex watches, 5 Rolex watches gone, gold, this gone, gold and that gone, this gone. And police को bribe करके FIR दर्ज करवा दिया, यहाँ आके इंश्योरेंस क्लेम मार दिया, और पूरी हॉलिडे का खर्चा और एक्स्ट्रा मजीद मिल गया. They do this. So these types of insurance policy, it's a gamble, whether you will get more or you will lose what you said. So insurance policies, whether whatever sum a person may receive in excess of initial invested capital will be haram. Whatever is gained through any sort of gambling, horse racing, etc., is not allowed. Football, you gamble on games, United, Liverpool, you either win or lose. So whatever you get through gambling is also haram. People don't know. आज को हराम समझते ही नहीं है. बच्चे गेम खेलते हैं गैम्बलिंग की, और उसमें एक दफे जीत गए, वाह चफ, I won 500 pounds, और उसके बाद habit, continuous habit of gambling. The wealth earned by theft, robbery, and illegal activities are also haram. So too is the wealth which is derived by deceiving others. Some people dupe others into believing that they are truly pious and righteous, thereby initiating a following. This homage becomes a trade, earning lucrative profits, which are all haram. अपने आप को पायस नेक दिखाकर लोगों से पैसे जमा करते हैं, और हजारों डॉलर जमा किए और फिर फरार हो गए, अब ढूंढने से भी नहीं मिल रहे. वो सब वो जो 60, 70,000, $100,000 लेके भाग गया, वो $100,000 हराम है उसके लिए. Often inheritances and legacies are not distributed in accordance with laws of Sharia. Certain heirs take for themselves whatever they can lay their hands on. Sometimes the son of the deceased deprives his mother and his sisters for their rightful shares. Since the laws of Sharia are not implemented, orphans are often deprived of their rightful share. The yatims are not given their shares. To take the property of another person as one's own and utilizing it is a total contradiction of the laws of Allah and not permitted at all. तो शरीयत में ये जो मीरास के मसाइल हैं, today people don't care about मीरास. Nobody asks about मीरास मसाइल. Ikka dukka here and there, someone we get question about मीरास. Otherwise, nobody bothers. Law of the land is mine. भाई शरीयत ये कहती है ना, I don't know what the शरीयत says. I'm going to go to the law of the land. This could be kalme kufriya. It could make a person kafir as well if you say, I don't believe in the law of Sharia, I believe in the law of the land. Never ever say this sentence. Never ever say this. Toba, 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 astaghfirullah. If you said it, say your kalma again, la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Allah bachaye. So over here, And in our back home, our countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, there as well, people taking over zameen and land and properties and homes and putting it on their names. When you go there, oh, it juttu affidavit बनाईने, power of attorney बनाईने, put a number वो कर लेगो, क्या काम से? Both fraud. It's all haram money. That is saying. Moving on, the wealth that was given reluctantly will be haram as well. If you force someone and put them in a situation where they have to give it and reluctantly give it, Hazrat is saying the wealth that was given reluctantly will be haram as well. Even though the owner, due to some intimidating factor, seemed to show silent consent. These are just few details which are mentioned. The types of haram income are too numerous to mention, and every person should consider his own income and expenditure very, very carefully. Hazrat then goes on to say the evil of haram wealth. Many people have the misconception that giving charity purifies ill-gotten wealth. To give charity with haram wealth is an even greater sin. It will never be accepted, since the hadith states that Allah only accepts act of purity. How can an action which itself is unacceptable purify the rest of the wealth? The charity thus given is unacceptable, as well as the remaining wealth. Both will be a cause of punishment in the hereafter. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu reports, whoever, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the servant who earns illicit wealth and spends of it in charity will have his charity rejected by Allah. Whatever he spends from it will not be blessed, and what he leaves behind will thrust him into the fire of Jahannam. Verily, Allah does not annul evil with evil, but with good. One evil can never annul another. Narrated by Ahmad, recorded in Mishkatul Musabi, page 242. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam also said, "Kullu lahmin nabata min suhtin, fannaru awla bihi." The flesh nourished on haram will never enter Jannah. The fire of Jahannam is more deserving of it. Another hadith states, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "The body cannot enter Jannah which was nourished on haram." And another hadith, when a person purchases a garment for 10 dirhams, 1 dirham of which is haram, not a single salah of his will be accepted as long as it is upon his body. So this is something which we need to keep in mind about halal and haram. The matter of halal and haram is extremely delicate, important. Hazrat Maulana Ahmad Ali Lahori Rahmatullah alayhi comes to mind. Is very famous regarding him that he could see the halal and haram. We can't see it. If there is a glass of water and someone drugged it, the drug dissolves. We can't see it. But someone who saw it tells you that, oi, and no pita, is there drugs in there? You leave it. Allah and His Rasul can see that drug in the haram income. They tell us that haram is no good for you. Don't take it. It'll poison your soul. It'll kill your soul. Ruhaniyat. Finish. No ruhaniyat, no spirituality there. Take halal and it will enhance your ruhaniyat spiritually. Hazrat Lahori Rahmatullah Ali was very particular about his income and his food. Hazrat, I read in his biography that Hazrat would not eat at anybody's place or especially in wedding halls. One wealthy person invited Hazrat for nikah of his son. Hazrat put a condition, I'll come with my own transport, I'll do bayan, I'll do nikah, I'll bring my own food, I will not eat any food from there. If you accept this condition, I will come. He said, Hazrat, thoda bahut khana padega. No, thoda bahut Hazrat, nahi. He had to agree because he wanted Hazrat to do the nikah. So he went, Hazrat went in bus with his own kiraya, fare. Hazrat did the bayan, nikah, and Hazrat taken from home roti and chana. He sat in one corner, he consumed his roti and chana, and took the next bus and back home. Hazrat was very particular about what he used to eat. And he used to say, अगर कोई लाहौरी के साथ एक चिल्ला गुजारे 40 days, and he eats what Lahori eats and he does what Lahori does, मैं गारंटी देता हूं कि उसके दिल की आंख खुल जाएंगी, उसको भी वो नजर आएगा जो लाहौरी को नजर आता है. He will be able to see what Lahori sees. The eyes of his hearts will open up. Hazrat was once sitting and a person came, nice fresh biryani, garam garam, and you open the covering of the plate, and the steam is coming out. There's zafran on top, and khushbu of zafran. And Hazrat ji thoda kha le. Hazrat ne dekha na, le jao isko yahan se, isme zina ki boo aa rahi hai. He was shocked because that means his wife has done something wrong. He took it back. He couldn't see anything. He just give it back in the house and he went out. After a while, he came back and he said, khana lao. And they put sada chawal and dahi, ghee, whatever it was. So he said, I saw some biryani. Where's the biryani gone? I thought there's biryani cooked in our house today. And they said, no, we didn't cook biryani today. It came from the neighbor's house. So he immediately rushed, went to the neighbor's house. Did you cook that biryani? No, it came from a third house. And that house was of someone, this lady who was doing bad stuff, prostitute type. And she had made a nazar mannat vow that if my mannat and this nazar oath vow is fulfilled, I'll cook biryani and I'll feed everyone. So she sent it to her neighbor, but they didn't want to eat it. They sent it to Hazrat Lahori's house and they didn't want to eat it. They kept it there and he came and he took it to Hazrat Lahori. Hazrat Lahori didn't know what's happened. And he came rushing to Hazrat and said, Hazrat, please maaf kar de, Hazrat maaf kar de, Hazrat maaf kar de. I told him what had happened. Because in reality, in Zahir, apparently, there's khushbu of zafran, beautiful, tasty biryani. But the haqiqat is, there's something wrong behind it. Hazrat could see it. Maulana Amin Safdar Ukadwi Rahmatullah Ali writes in one place that we had heard this karamat of Hazrat. So we used to think that, yes, logon ne afwah uda di hai. This is just a hearsay, can't be reality. You can't see halal and haram. So we were just talking about this. And someone, came and he said, this is 5 rupees of haram money. Anybody want it? Free. So we said, okay, give it to us. And we said, today we'll test Hazrat. So we went to the market, brought some apples and kinnus with 5 rupiah haram money and others with 5 rupiah halal money. And then we traveled to Hazrat's place by bus. We arrived there and Hazrat was Sahibi Kashaf. So Hazrat, Allah had exposed before Hazrat what the haqiqat is. So Hazrat said, जी कैसे आना हुआ? जी हजरत आपकी सोहबत में रहने के लिए, बैत होने के लिए आए हैं. हजरत said, बैत होने के लिए आए हो कि इम्तिहान लेने के लिए आए हो? लाओ तुम्हारे फल निकालो. Put it forward and it's all jumbled mix, but they knew which one is which color is which. And Hazrat separated them. ये हलाल पैसों के हैं और ये हराम पैसों के हैं. जाओ यहाँ से, इम्तिहान लेने के लिए आते हो. We were all shocked. Everybody went back, went to the bus stop. Hazrat Maulana Amin Sahib says, my friends all took the bus and went back home. But I said, no, we made a mistake. We have to ask Hazrat for Mafi. I said, I'm not going back. I came back. I spent the night in Hazrat's masjid. I slept there somewhere in one corner at night. In the night, got up for tahajjud. And then Fajr Salat. Hazrat Lahori Rahmatullah came for Fajr Salat. After Fajr, he came near me and he smiled. And he said, ab bayat ke liye aaye ho, aachao. You see, the effect of halal and haram, we can't see it, but Allah can see it. This is why it's really, really important to make sure everything that comes in our homes, not just chicken and meat, Everything before chicken and meat is the income. First is the income, then is chicken and meat. So make sure our income is hard earned halal money. One of Saifur Rahman Sahib Hafizahullah once mentioned some ta'weez. He said, for so and so muhabbat, you can write this ta'weez. But you have to make sure you buy some za'afran with pure halal earned money, and then you mix it in water, leave it there for a bit, and you write with that water clean asmani pani, rainwater, and then you write that. And then he said, sometimes when some people would ask me for this type of ta'weez, then I would finish my teaching at Madrasa Saulatiya, and then I would go to the area near Babul Umrah where there were Zamzam drums, and at that time we were allowed to fill Zamzam with our own hands. So I would go there and I would, fill Zamzams for a few riyals. You have to spend some time, take some drums, fill them up, and then sell them. So, taking the drums for other people, filling them up, and earning few riyals. With that hard work and those few riyals, I would buy zafran and mix it with Zamzam water, which is best water, and write that ta'weez. Then it would be effective. See the effect of halal and importance of halal. This is our akabir, how they used to be very particular. Their hearts were really clean and pure, and they could see things. So over here, first Allah said, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, eat halal and wholesome. Now Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kulu min tayyibat. O iman walo, for you it is more important to eat halal and avoid haram. Then Allah now moves on to verse number 173. إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به. Allah has only forbidden for you carrion, carcass, dead meat, and blood, flowing blood, and the flesh of swine, pork, and bacon, and those animals which were sacrificed with the name of another besides Allah. فَمَنِ اضْطُرَّ غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. As for him who is driven by necessity and compulsion, then he is allowed to eat from it, but he should not eat it rebelliously nor whilst transgressing the limits. Then there will be no sin upon him. Inna Allah ghafurur rahim. Indeed, Allah is ghafurur rahim, most forgiving, most merciful. Over here, Tafseer Ma'ariful Quran has gone into great detail in the explanation of this ayat. First, I will mention from Tafseer Uthmani. Innama harrama alaykumul maytata waddam. Allah has only made haram for you these four things: mayta, dam, lahmul khinzir, ma uhilla li ghayrillahi bihi. One might ask a question that why Allah said only these four things are haram, when there are many other things which are haram. Many are mentioned in the Quran itself and others in Hadith Sharif. In Quran itself, like in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah said, حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةُ وَالدَّمُ وَلَحْمُ الْخِنْزِيرِ وَمَا أُهِلَّ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ بِهِ وَالْمُنْخَنِقَةُ وَالْمَوْقُوذَةُ وَالْمُتَرَدِّيَةُ وَالنَّطِيحَةُ وَمَا أَكَلَ السَّبُعُ إِلَّا مَا ذَكَّيْتُمْ وَمَا ذُبِحَ عَلَى النُّصُبِ وَأَن تَسْتَقْسِمُوا بِالْأَزْلَامِ ذَلِكُمْ فِسْقٌ. So many things are made haram there. Allah said regarding the wazifa of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, وَيُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. The Prophet makes halal for them tayyibat and makes haram for them the khabith and filthy, dirty stuff. So Nabi Pak sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentioned many things as haram, like wild beasts are haram, reptiles are haram, kullu dinabin min as-sabu' is haram, this is haram, domesticated donkeys are haram, dog is haram. These things are mentioned in hadith sharifa. So why did Allah say innama harrama alaykum? Only these things are halal, made haram for you. The answer to that is that first of all, over here, the details of halal and haram are not being discussed in absolute sense. Allah is not mentioning a list of halal haram stuff. What it is that the reference is towards particular things which the mushrikeen had made halal for themselves. Because they had taken the authority of halal haram, like we discussed in last lesson. That they took it their department, they would say this is halal, this is haram, this is halal, this is haram. And they had made maita halal, and blood halal, swine halal, ma uhilla bihi li ghayrillah halal. So Allah says, you are consuming these things, it is these which are haram. So in other words, Allah is addressing the mushrikeen in this verse and not giving us a whole list of halal haram stuff. Allah is jogging their brains that look, these are the things which are haram, you should be avoiding these things. Not though the things which you made haram for yourself, like bahira, wasila, saiba, ham. Like sometimes they would say, ما في بطون هذه الأنعام خالصة لذكورنا ومحرم على أزواجنا وإن يكن ميتا فهم فيه شركاء هذه أنعام وحرث حجر لا يطعمها إلا من نشاء بزعمهم وأنعام حرمت ظهورها وأنعام لا يذكرون اسم الله عليه افتراء عليه سيجزيهم بما كانوا يفترون. They would make halal haram, on their own. That this animal is haram, that animal is haram. I mentioned last week, the first animal which is born to this camel or this cow or this goat, we will let it loose in the name of God. The 10th animal, it is haram for us, we will not eat the 10th child of this animal. If we slaughter this animal, then the flesh or the fat which is on its back is haram for us, and the rest is halal. These parts are halal for men can eat them, but haram for men, women can't eat them. So this type of halal haram department, they messed it up. So Allah said, why are you messing up with Allah's commands? It is these things which are haram. Do you not understand? So this is why Allah said, إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به. Hazrat Allama Usmani Rahmatullah Alayhi writes, Maita, carrion is the dead body of or flesh of an animal which dies natural death, is not slaughtered or hunted according to the rules of Sharia, is slaughtered by intentionally not saying the words of Takbir, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. The animal which is killed by throttling, strangling. The animal which is killed by throwing a large stone or beating it up violently with a stick or staff, or which is shot down by a gun. The animal which dies by falling down from some height like a cliff or a building or some high place. The animal which is killed by the horns and goading of another animal. The animal which is torn by a carnivorous wild beast like lion, tiger, leopard, and a piece of flesh cut away from a living animal. The mushrikeen sometimes used to see that बकरी बराबर झाड़ी से तो इन डगरी का भी गर्दन खाई जाए. So living animal, they chop its backside off and eat it, and the animal is alive. So that is classed also as dead animal. So all this is included in carrion and dead meat. All carrions are unlawful haram, except for the fished and locust are exceptions in Sharia. You don't have to slaughter fish or locust taddi. They do not require slaughter. This is in Tafseer Usmani. Tafseer Ma'ariful Quran goes into a bit more detail. There are some injunctions about dead animal. Hazrat writes, the dead animal is known in English as carrion or carcass. In Islamic terminology, it means an animal not slaughtered in accordance with the requirements of Sharia. If it dies its own death without having been slaughtered, or is killed by choking or aggressive hitting, it falls under the category of dead and remains haram. You know, one of my friends, he used to go to, this is in Canada, he met this chicken farm. He was filling up at one place, and there was this farm of chicken wala with lots of chicken in his bag. And said, "Oh, bhai, can I have some live chickens?" He said, "Yeah, you have to come to this place." And then he said, "Can I slaughter over here?" I said, "Okay." So he started taking some chicken from him, slaughtering by the one hand, and then he used to take his from family. And sometimes he used to get some nice, roast chicken with masala and eggs and everything inside and bring it for the Guriya friend. So the Guriya said that, your chicken tastes so nice. Why does my chicken not taste so good? So he asked him, "How do you kill your chicken?" So I just kill the chicken and, press its neck and strangle it. When it's dead, I just take all the skin off. He said, "Nah, that's not the way. The blood stays inside. It corrupts the meat. So you have to take all the flowing blood out. And then you take the skin off. This is how we do it." Say, "All right, next time you slaughter it for me." So he used to give him halal chicken as well. So if you kill an animal in this way, against the law of Sharia, without Bismillah Allahu Akbar, without taking all the dame masfuh, flowing blood out, that animal will become haram. It's not halal for you. Then Hazrat talks about the fish and locust matter. That, however, in accordance with another verse of Holy Quran, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ صَيْدُ الْبَحْرِ وَطَعَامُهُ مَتَاعًا لَكُمْ وَلِلسَّيَّارَةِ. Slaughtering sea life is not necessary. It is permissible even without it. And this is in the authentic hadith. Fish and locust have been determined as exceptions. Even there, if a fish gets decomposed or starts floating on the surface of the water, then it will become haram. Like fish tank mein fish mar gayi, subah ko uthe to is floating on the top, you can't eat that fish. Or if you bought a fish but it's decomposed, bahar padi rahi, sad gayi, badboodar ho gayi, you can't eat that. Fir wo haram ho jayegi. So it is halal as long as it is taken in the proper manner. Then Hazrat writes, similarly, an animal not within range for hunter to slaughter can become halal without having been slaughtered if the hunter, after saying Bismillah, shoots an arrow, inflicts a wound on it by means of the sharp-edged weapon. Merely being wounded is not enough. It is necessary as a condition that it be wounded with some sharp-edged weapon. So you hunt with an arrow, shoot it, you run after it. The rule is if you get to it while it's still alive, then you have to slaughter it, Bismillah Allahu Akbar. But if you get to it and it died because of your arrow and your shooting, then the animal will be halal for you. Though you did not slaughter it from the neck, but you injured it and lots of blood came out of it, so the animal will be halal for you. This is the ruling. Now, some more injunctions, rulings regarding gunshot, shooting, hunting with gun. If an animal wounded by a gunshot dies before it could be slaughtered, it would be taken as an animal that dies from a fatal strike with a baton or a rock. You shoot an animal like a pheasant and it falls on the ground, you rush to it and slaughter it, Bismillah Allahu Akbar, while still alive, then it's okay. But you go for it, and by the time you get there, it's not breathing, it's dead. You can't eat it. because the gunshot is not like an arrow. There's a difference between the two. Arrow lets the blood out. Hazrat writes over here. And bullet, it has some gunpowder in it, and it penetrates into the body, and that's what kills it. So the hunting with bullet and gunshot, the animal is classed as dead, is not allowed, is not halal. Hazrat explains. There are two opinions, but Hazrat explains it. Some ulama are of the opinion that the common bullet with a conical nose top falls under the category of an arrow. But the view of the majority of ulama is that this too is not an arrow-like weapon. Instead, it bores the flesh and tears it apart by the force of the explosive mixture inside the bullet. Otherwise, the weapon itself has no sharp edge which could inflict a wound on the animal or the bird. Therefore, an animal hunted with a bullet of this kind will not be permissible without slaughtering it in the Sharia halal way with Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. In verse number 173, Mayta, or dead animal, has been declared haram in an absolute sense. Therefore, everything about it is haram. Everything about Mayta is haram. Eating its flesh is haram. Buying the dead meat, selling it, all included. The same injunction applies to all impurities, najasats. Their usage, buying and selling, even deriving any benefit from them, are all haram. You get it? You can't buy and sell haram meat. Not only just eating, buying and selling haram meat is also haram. So much so that it is not permissible to voluntarily feed even an animal with carrion, dead meat, or anything else impure. Right? If you have dead meat, you can't feed it to the cat. You can't feed it to the dog. Listen carefully. However, should this be placed somewhere and be eaten by the dog or the cat on its own, that would then be permissible. What is not permissible is to feed them personally. You can't give them that chicken, that dead chicken, or that meat in their hands. You can't feed them. You just leave it somewhere, and the cat comes and eats it, or the dog comes and eats it. That's another thing. But you can't feed it personally. This means about animal, right? So you can't feed such stuff to your Goria neighbor as well. If you had haram meat, or आ गया कहीं से haram meat, and say Gorian did you? Nah, you can't feed it. You can leave it outside. You can say, "Bhai, to bahar bag padne se le lijiye." He comes and takes it. That's another thing. But you should avoid giving them haram meat. What you can't eat, you can't give it to others. This is especially about mayta. Okay, mayta. I'm not talking about biscuits or chocolates which might have some gelatin or something inside. That's another masala. This is about something which is clear-cut haram meat or haram chicken. You can't give it to, you can't feed it to others. You can't buy it, you can't sell it. This is masla. बहुत delicate masla है. बहुत लोग परेशान हो जाएंगे. I'm sorry. I'm doing tafseer. I have to say it. Whether you like it or not, मुझे मत पकड़ना. मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ, मैं इसीलिए मैं इसमें से पढ़ रहा हूँ. अपने मुंह से ठोकम ठोक फाड़म फाड़ नहीं कर रहा हूँ. Number 4. In this particular verse, the injunction declaring Maita, or the dead animal, as haram appears to be general, which includes all parts of the Maita. But this has been clarified in another verse by the words ala ta'imin yat'amuhu, which tells us that the eatable parts of the dead animal are forbidden. Which parts are forbidden? Those which are eatable, consumable. You can consume and eat them. Therefore, those which are not eatable, like bones of dead animal and the hair of dead animal, which are not eatables, are clean and their use is permissible. Okay. So bones, khali bones, bilarinde je to kawai, or hair, use them hair in brush or something. Hair, it doesn't have any life in it. You don't eat hair. So it's permissible to use the hair and the bones. The verse in the Quran, Surah 16, verse 80, says, وَمِنْ أَصْوَافِهَا وَأَوْبَارِهَا وَأَشْعَارِهَا أَثَاثًا وَمَتَاعًا إِلَى حِينٍ, permits the use of hair of such animal in an absolute sense. The condition of slaughterer is not mentioned there. Since the skin or hide of an animal carries impurities such as blood, it is forbidden to use unless it is tanned. When tanned, it will also become permissible. Further clarifications can be seen in authentic ahadith. A dead animal, you take the skin off. You can only take the skin off up to a certain time after its death, because if it won't get cooled down, then the skin won't come off. This is based on one hadith. Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed by Hazrat Maimuna's house, and there was this dead goat. And Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "What happened?" And he said, "It died on its own." So he said, "Hal antafa'tum bi'ihabiha?" Why did you not derive benefit from its hide, skin? And they said, "Hiya maita, it's dead." And he said, "Innama hurrima akluha." Eating it is haram. Taking the skin out, cleaning it, tanning it, and then using the skin, even if it's for praying namaz, is allowed. Then it becomes pak. So, two things. One is an animal zabah is done. You slaughter a sheep, goat. Then the skin is automatically pak. Doesn't need to be tanned. Another thing is a dead animal. And you take the skin off, throw the meat away, and you tan that skin in a proper way. You have to use some acid, some salt, and scrub all the blood out of it, clean it, leave it in the heat of the sun, and all the smell and everything goes away, and it becomes clean and pure. So it becomes pak. In the olden days, we used to keep this type of thing near the fire, a fire in the sitting room. So it's allowed. You can pray even namaz on it. So this is the mas'ala about dead animals' bones, hair, and the skin. Number 5, the fat of the dead animal and everything made with it is forbidden. There is no way they can be used. Even buying and selling the fat of the dead animal is forbidden. Clear, because fat is also eaten. Fat is mixed with the meat, and we eat the fat as well. Charbi, so charbi bhi haram hai dead animal ki. Number 6, now charbi se sabun banta hai. So Hazrat talks about soap now. Avoiding the use of soap made from animal fat is good precautionary matter. However, it is not easy to find out for sure that fat from dead animal has been used in a particular product. Therefore, some leeway exists in form of soap. Another reason for this permissibility is that some of the blessed companions such as Ibn Umar, Abu Sa'id Khudri, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari have ruled that the fat of the dead animal is forbidden as far as eating is concerned, while they have permitted its use externally, and therefore they have allowed its buying and selling. The Sas Razi. This Hazrat has mentioned. I think another point which is discussed by Muftiyani Kiram which Hazrat not mentioned over here. One is the opinion of these Akabir and Mashayikh, Sahaba, who said that the soap is permissible. And secondly, second point which Hazrat, I don't know why Hazrat didn't mention it over here, is Tabdil Mahiyat, where the mahiyat of something changes. So when the soap is made and it's heated up in that large kadhai, the whole mahiyat of the thing changes. So whatever fat or extractor was used in it, it's got other chemicals in it and lots of other things in it, and then the whole thing is changed. So let's say if a dead meat or carcass was burnt and it turned into ashes. So the reality of it has changed. The ashes will not remain napak. The dead meat was napak, but the ashes and rak is not napak. If you use that ashes or rak for something, then there's no harm in there. It won't be classed as najis because the mahiyat has changed. And this tabdil mahiyat concept is used in many places. So over here as well in soap, many muftiyan kiram have said that in soap there is tabdil mahiyat, the reality and haqiqat of it changes, so it will be allowed as they mention. Number 7, cheese made from milk contains an ingredient called infaha in Arabic and Rennet in English. It is a mucous membrane lining taken out from the stomachs of suckling lambs or kids. It is used to coagulate or curdle milk. If Rennet is taken out of the stomach of an animal slaughtered in the name of Allah, there is no harm in using it. The meat, fat, etc. of an Islamically slaughtered animal are permissible. बात समझ में आ गई? चीज में रेने होती है और रेने जो है वो छोटे लैम्ब या बकरी का बच्चा किड के स्टमक से निकाली जाती है और उसको इस्तेमाल किया जाता है दूध को फाड़ने के लिए और उसके बाद उसकी चीज बनाने के लिए और उसको coagulate और curdle the milk. Now, अगर वो लैम्ब या किड बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़कर स्लॉटर हुआ था तो वो हलाल, तो उसका स्टमक में जो चीज है वो भी हलाल, तो उसको इस्तेमाल करना दूध को फाड़ने के लिए और चीज बनाने के लिए ये भी हलाल, कोई मसला नहीं है. लेकिन अगर वो लैम्ब जो है वो किड जो है वो डेड है और वो मैता है, तो यहाँ तो कहा कि इन्नमा हराम मैता, तो मैता इज हराम, कंज्यूमिंग इट इज हराम. विल द रेने बी हराम और नॉट? Hazrat says, but in the event when they are taken from the stomach of an animal slaughtered un-Islamically, there is difference of views among Muslim jurists, fuqaha kiram. Two opinions. Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhima consider it clean, pak, whilst Imam Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad, Imam Sufyan Thawri and others call it unclean and impure. There is a strong likelihood that rennet from an un-Islamically slaughtered animal is used in cheese made in non-Islamic countries. Therefore, relying on the consensus of Muslim jurists, one must avoid using it. Don't use the rennet. Under the juristic position taken by Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik, some leeway exists. So if you take Imam Abu Hanifa's call, Imam Malik's call, then that rennet will be halal and the cheese will also be halal. But if you take Imam Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad, Sufyan Thawri's call, then the rennet will not be halal. आगे सुनो. So, but Imam Abu Hanifa's call, leeway exists, flexibility is there, cheese खा सकते हैं. However, some cheese made in Western countries have pork fat as one of their ingredients, which hopefully can be seen on the wrapper or the tin. All these are absolutely haram and impure. If the cheese is made with something pork based, then it will not be halal. So check it. If there is some pork ingredient used in there, it will not be halal. But other than that, if it is slaughtered Islamically, it's halal, no question. But if the animal is slaughtered un-Islamically, there are two opinions. Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik gives some leeway, flexibility, whilst Imam Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad, Sufyan Thawri call it unclean, impure. We should avoid it. One might say one is fatwa, other is taqwa. Taqwa would be taking Imam Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad's call. Fatwa might be on Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik's opinion. So there is some flexibility there. ये हमने आज सिर्फ इतना कवर किया, कौन सा, इन्नमा हर्रम अलैकुमुल मैता। अब इंशाल्लाह नेक्स्ट वीक वो दम, मसाइल रिगार्डिंग dam, blood transfusion, because dam is haram. Can we do blood transfusion or not? And lahmul khinzir, swine, is it halal or what is haram? What parts of it is haram? Can it be pak or not? And ma uhilla bihi li ghayrillah, consecrated animals, when an animal is slaughtered but someone else's name is taken on it, you know, instead of Bismillah Allahu Akbar, you say Bismillah Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, then this will be like saying Bismillah wal Uzza, Nauzubillah. I'm not making them rivals. I'm saying that just as what mushrikeen used to say and make the animal haram, this type of taking somebody else's name, Bismi Fulanin wa Fulanin, will also make it haram. Because when you slaughter animal, you should think Bismillah. Allah created that animal. Allah gave you the power over it. Allah gave you the ability to slaughter it. And why are you taking someone else's name on it? So, ma uhilla bihi li ghayrillah, the animal upon whom a name other than that of Allah is taken will also be haram. And there is some detail in there. We'll go into that detail in the next lesson, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya rabbal alamin. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Allahumma lakal hamdu wa lakal shukr. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالقرآن وزين أخلاقنا بالقرآن ونجنا من النار بالقرآن وادخلنا الجنة بشفاعة القرآن. اللهم ارزقنا من رزقك الحلال الطيب المبارك ما تصون به وجوهنا عن التعرض إلى أحد من خلقك، وجنبنا اللهم الحرام حيث كان وأين كان وعند من كان، وحل بيننا وبين أهله، واقبض عنا أيديهم واصرف عنا قلوبهم حتى لا نتقلب إلا فيما يرضيك ولا نستعين بنعمتك إلا على ما تحب يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وعملا صالحا ورزقا حلالا طيبا واسعا والشفاء من كل داء या रहमत रहीमीन। मुआज़ अपने फज़ल व करम से हम सब की मग़फ़िरत फरमा दीजिए, पूरी उम्मत की मग़फ़िरत फरमा दीजिए। जो कुछ पढ़ा उस पर अमल की तौफ़ीक़ अता फरमाइए, दीन की समझ अता फरमाइए, दीन को समझने का शौक़ दिलों में पैदा फरमाइए, दीन पर चलने का शौक़ नसीब फरमाइए और दीन पर चलना हमारे लिए आसान फरमाइए। हलाल रिज़्क़ नसीब फरमाइए, हराम कमाई से हिफाजत फरमाइए, हराम खोरी, हराम धंधों, हराम लेन देन, फ्रॉड, चीटिंग या अल्लाह वगैरह से, स्कैम वगैरह से हिफाजत फरमाइए। इंटरेस्ट मनी, गैम्बलिंग मनी, इंश्योरेंस मनी वगैरह से हमारी हिफाजत फरमाइए। बरकत वाली हलाल रोजी नसीब फरमाइए। या अल्लाह मुसलमानों की रोजी में बरकत अता फरमाइए। जो बेरोजगार हैं बेचारों को अच्छा रोजगार और अच्छा जॉब नसीब फरमाइए। या अल्लाह जिनकी बिजनेसें ठप हो गई हैं बेचारों को वापस अपने पांव पे खड़ा कर दीजिए। जिनको आपने बिजनेसों में बरकत दी है उन्हें ज़कात निकालने की तौफीक अता फरमाइए, सदका खैरात की लिल्लाह की तौफीक अता फरमाइए। या अल्लाह पूरी उम्मत के अहवाल को दुरुस्त फरमाइए। परवरदिगार आलम, तुर्की और सीरिया पर क़यामत टूट पड़ी है, उन बेचारों पर रहम फरमाइए। जो मुसलमान शहीद हो गए उनकी मग़फ़िरत फरमाइए, उनके दर्जात बुलंद फरमाइए। या अल्लाह जो बेचारे ज़ख्मी हैं उनके लिए इलाज मुआलजा के असबाब नसीब फरमाइए। या अल्लाह मासूम बच्चों पर रहम फरमाइए, यतीम बच्चों पर रहम फरमाइए, बेवा औरतों पर, बड़े बूढ़ों पर रहम फरमाइए। या अल्लाह जो बिल्डिंगों के मलबे में दबे हुए हैं उन बेचारों के लिए आसानियां फरमाइए। जो सर्दियों में ठिठर रहे हैं उनके लिए आसानियां फरमाइए। जो बड़ी बड़ी कोठियों से सड़कों पे आ गए हैं या अल्लाह उनकी कसम कुर्सी पर रहम फरमाइए। जो भूखे प्यासे हैं उन्हें दाना पानी नसीब फरमाइए। जो सर्दी में ठिठर रहे हैं उन्हें ब्लैंकेट और लिहाफ और कोट और मोजे नसीब फरमाइए। परवरदिगार आलम, उम्मत पर रहम फरमाइए, उम्मत को हर किस्म के मजालिम से महफूज फरमाइए। जालिमों के हक में हिदायत है तो नसीब फरमाइए, नहीं है तो ऐसे जालिम बदमाश गुंडे लुच्चे लफंगों से या अल्लाह उम्मत को नजात अता फरमाइए। फरमाइए, पूरी इंसानियत पर रहम फरमाइए, पूरी इंसानियत को इंसानियत अता फरमाइए और पूरी इंसानियत को जुल्म और सितम की शिकंजा से निजात अता फरमाइए। हमारी टूटी फूटी दुआएं सुन लीजिए, हम सबको दुनिया और आखिरत की हर खैर अता फरमाइए, हर शर से हमारी हिफाजत फरमाइए। कुरान पाक को पढ़ने, समझने, उस पर अमल करने, उसकी नशर इशाअत करने की तौफीक अता फरमाइए। ये हजरात बड़ी देर से मोहब्बत से दरस कुरान में बैठे हैं, इनका बैठना कबूल फरमाइए और सबके सीनों को कुरान और हदीस के अनवार से मुनव्वर और रोशन फरमाइए और सबको अपने महबूब और मकबूल बंदों में शामिल फरमाइए। घरों पर सुनने वालों सुनने वालियों को भी अपने महबूब मकबूल बंदों और बंदियों में शामिल फरमाइए। रब्बना तक़ब्बल मिन्ना इन्नका अंतस समीउल अलीम व तुब अलैना या मौलाना इन्नका अंतत तव्वाबुर रहीम। व सल्लल्लाहु व सल्लिम अला सय्यिदिना मुहम्मद व आलिहि व सहाबिहि अजमईन बिरहमतिका।